Welcome to the Imperfect Dads Podcast. This is your host, Devin. We believe dads care deeply about their family and kids, but they don't always have a space to discuss what their life looks like. Our podcast is a space for dads to discuss the ups and downs of fatherhood and how they feel like they're holding it together or how they're not. Thank you for joining us for this episode. This podcast is part of the Never a Face Network. Make sure to follow them on Instagram or go to the website neverafacenetwork.com. On this episode, we have on therapist Jarrod Hoffman. We talk about his life with 2 kids, working to become a licensed therapist, balancing schoolwork with fatherhood, his work with teenagers, and advice and tips for connecting with your kids as they get older. Make sure to follow Jarrod on LinkedIn, and you can find that link in the show notes for this episode. Just like one more thing.
Dad, just start the episode.
Oh, my bad.
Hey, Jarrod, how many kids you got? Ages, all that good stuff.
I have 2 kids.
Okay.
Ages 2 years old and 3 months old. Maybe going on 4. Time is really warped these days.
What's their month difference? Like, my 2 oldest are 23 months apart. What's their month difference for them?
Don't remember. I could do the math for you. About 2 years.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Dude, I always tell people, like, when they're like, because since my girls are so close in age, it's like, if you ask me anything about the second child's first year of life, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I remember some of it. But like, if you're like, how was it? I'm like, it's a lot. That's all you can say. It's a lot, and you get through it, and you're happy in like 3 to 4 years from now when they're best friends. But like, dude, that first year of 2 kids at this age is just
I used
something.
to think people were lying when you asked, like, hey, how's it going? And what was it like to have that child? And when they said, I don't remember, I can't really tell you. I was like, you're just trying to make it seem like it's not as bad. No, I think our brains actually don't remember that because we wouldn't have a 3rd kid if
Correct.
that were the
Yep.
case.
My 3rd kid, first was born in 2016, second in 2018, 3rd kid was born in 2021. So about when the 2nd kid turned 2 was the first time we entertained the discussion of like, should we have a 3rd kid?
Mm-hmm.
But the 2nd kid, it was like firstborn turned 1, and we're like, we should probably have a 2nd kid. 3rd kid, it was like, no, we just don't touch each other. That's what that's what you do.
It's been nice being married.
Yes. But I think for I remember like bedtimes were the hardest because like just to know how to understand the oldest world. Because like, you try to put one kid down in a bed in a room all by yourself, then likely all 3 of you go into a different room, and then that kid has trouble falling asleep. And you're like, well, you just watched your entire family leave you.
Yes. Try not to feel abandoned.
Yeah, basically. So far, what do you feel like is like what struggle has surprised you the most about having the 2nd kid?
I think this is tapping into trying to distance myself from the hard
I'm going to make you
parts.
think about your life, Jarrod. I'm sorry.
Yes. Probably putting unfair expectations because I don't remember. So I'll be holding the 3-month-old and I'm thinking, what the heck? I used to read. You used to sit in the swing. We used to have a great time with the first one. I'm probably remembering 4, 5, 6 months old, not 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
But I just don't remember exactly the timing of things. And of course, like those good moments stand out. So I think probably the challenging thing is remembering the good moments, not remembering the bad, and putting that on the next child.
Yep. And like, there's still like, I think whenever you have another kid, like you probably got some comfort level with what your life was like before the other kid is born. So like you had some definition of like, oh, I have some independence back. I have some freedom back. And like, when you have a kid that's less than 6 months old, like, no, your job is to take care of that kid because they can't do anything for themselves. And like, getting back into that mindset is not always easy and not always fun. Tell me about your day job. Are you a therapist? Or are you like still getting your like hours to be like a licensed therapist and all that?
I'm in the weird space of I have about 200 hours left to have a full license. They say temporary. I have most of the abilities of a fully licensed person. And by the time you edit, in the next couple weeks, months, Snow Week has definitely messed my timeline up a little bit. So the answer is I'm a temporarily licensed counselor in the state of Tennessee, and I will shortly be a fully fledged blossoming therapist. No, so my day job looks different a lot of times. I feel like I go hard or I have nothing to do at the moment. Seeing clients throughout the week in a private practice kind of group setting. And then I have a contract with a school that allows me to do individual and group counseling on site at the school, which is pretty amazing. And so kind of Monday, Thursday are my therapy, private practice type clients. And then Tuesday and Wednesday are at the school. And then Friday's catch up day for all the other stuff that I put off.
Yeah. The school my daughters go to, they have a school counselor. And I know he said he went like the school counselor route because all of his hours he works at the school count as hours that go towards his. And so he was like, no, this is honestly like, one, I do love kids. I love understanding their world. I probably want to work with children once I get licensed. But he was like, no, like this, I get to work a full-time job, get benefits, and work towards my hours. And I'm like, that's smart. That's a good route.
Yeah, I feel like you have two options in my experience in this licensure world. And that is you get them fast and you don't get paid as much, but you get more guaranteed hours. If they're on site, if the student's at school, you can pull them.
Yeah.
Especially if you have the whole population, it's basically unlimited hours.
Yeah.
Or the other option, which is maybe you get paid more earlier on, but you have to fill a practice. Part of the reason I'm on podcasts is to let people know what I do, which is what we talked about earlier. And so kind of choose your battle, I think, is the name of the game.
Yeah. Cause I know like I've had some friends who are therapists tell me like, you're in the part where like you just finished your coursework and now you have to get the hours to get the licensure. So you've got like a temporary tag basically. So you've got, you know what you're doing. You just need to put in some hours before people are like, no, seriously, this guy knows what he's doing.
Yes. One of the things, and this could be just helpful for people listening.
Yeah.
That's interesting is that if you work as so I'm a contracted employee.
Yeah.
And to be a contracted employee as a therapist, at least in Tennessee, you have to have the temporary license. So if you see temporary, some people think they're not as good as the other people who might not advertise that.
Yeah.
Versus if you're an employee of the organization, you could be counseling and not even have applied for your temporary license.
Yeah.
You could, so it's just a matter of how far along are you in the process. You could go, I think, quite a bit of time without even attempting that. Most people don't do it because it takes a lot of paperwork and it costs money.
Yeah. 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 There was one guy we had on who's in the same position where you're at or same phase or of the process of it. And he was like, okay, just know like whenever you put the episode out there, here's the wording you have to use. Cause like I don't technically have my license yet. So you can't say he is an LLPC or something or whatever it is. You have to say, I have completed, It's just like, it's real legalistic, but I can't technically say I'm a licensed therapist. But in a month from now, I can say I'm a licensed therapist.
I am in that exact same boat.
Yep. Do you have to take a test to be officially? Is it like you get your hours and then you take a test?
So you can take the test in Tennessee at any point in the process. And I went the route of getting a little bit, I think we were expecting our child at the time that I was graduating. So it's kind of like I could get all these hours really fast. I think I'm going to go kind of the group route, which is what my practicum and internship experience was like anyway. And so I went the route of the group practice. I charge more per hour. I essentially see less clients because I had to market myself. So I knew in advance that my caseload was going to be light as I was waiting for my temporary license and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I went ahead and studied for the main exam, which is the longest acronym I've ever heard of.
Okay.
And so I studied and passed the exam you have to take by the end called the NCMHCE.
Of course. Everyone knows what that stands for. Yeah. But you intentionally, you kind of knew you're about to have a kid. Your mental space would probably be different. So you're like, you know what? I just got out of school. Let's get this done now. That's cool. I probably would have done the same thing.
Yes.
Does it feel good? Like, I'm assuming you passed the test or you did what you needed to with it. Nice. Congrats.
Thanks.
Well, I would then have like a constant countdown and I would probably track my hours very intensely then if I were you. Cause I'd be like, all right, I just need to get this over with.
I live in an Excel spreadsheet, and I
Do you
have it
really?
down to the quarter of an hour, and I have it calculating what percentage I'm at. Actually, if anybody goes to LinkedIn and finds me, I am currently posting every either Monday or Tuesday with a number of how many hours I have left, so you can see my
Yeah.
countdown. I
Yep.
think this week I will post 199 remaining.
Nice. Yeah.
Yes.
How do you, sometimes a problem I have with like processes and to-do lists is I get too focused on getting things done more than who I am as I'm getting them
Mhm.
done. As you're working towards like finishing your hours and you know this is all you need to do to be like a license, whatever. How do you
Mhm.
make sure you're still like present for your patients and make sure that you're still in a good mental headspace as opposed to like, I got to get this over with?
Yes, man, that's the toughest part.
Yeah.
We could probably extend that even higher in just like the systemic level,
Hmm.
even if you include people who accept insurance,
God.
people who are in organizations that are burning clinicians out,
Hmm.
just based on their experience level and what they're asked to do and all that, all sorts of stuff. For me personally, I've chosen not to accept insurance because I saw a lot of people and what that experience was like. It's not that I won't in the future. It allows me extra space to give them the attention. I work with predominantly teen boys.
Hmm.
And so that just gives me opportunity to call their prescribing physician. It gives me time to get a release to talk to their school counselor and really do like integrative behavioral health. If I
Yeah.
was cranking out 30, 35 sessions a week, people who do that just do not have the time to kind of over serve in those ways.
Yeah.
And then most recently, I actually made a change that was very, very hard. And I was told by a supervisor that it doesn't have to be forever, but I was working till 5 or 6 p.m.
Hmm.
even after the first baby came. And I decided to make a change, which is really hard. You asked like how I do that, and it's hard work. I have to really focus, and so I just don't see clients after 3 p.m. And I know that there's a lot of people who can't make that work, and it's
Hmm.
really challenging. But for me, being able to come home, and then kind of my system is I get to come home, check in, see how everyone's doing, hold a baby, and
Hmm.
then I go to the gym and come back at the same time as I was seeing
Yeah.
clients right up until 6:30 or 6
Yeah.
o'clock. And I know that doesn't work for everybody, but for me in this season, it does. Yeah.
Anyone, it regards to what your career is like, trying to figure out how to detach yourself from what your day was, basically, so you can actually be present for your family is
Hmm.
a process. Like,
Hmm.
I know my wife, so I'm a stay-at-home parent. My wife works full time. And yeah, sometimes there are a couple days a week when she does like the 3:30 workout because it is kind of like, yeah, I just did a full day. And like 3:30 her is not the most mentally present for the kids. Because she said all of your inertia is going in like one direction. And then a kid is like, what's the opposite of 5? And you're like, what does that even mean? Like, what's that question mean? So if you're already in like a problem solving, whatever like mindset you're in, and then a kid is just being a kid nearby you, it's just such a different speed of life that I'm glad you're able to realize within yourself, hey, this isn't going to be a good version of me. And I need to already figure out how to be better for you guys. And this is probably what it'll take.
Yeah. Maybe the last comment that I'll give on this,
Hmm.
because I'm sure your listeners don't necessarily want to find out all the nooks and crannies of the licensure process. I think it's built, and maybe our tendency is to plan if everything goes great. And so
Yeah.
3,000 hours is an excellent plan to train someone.
Yeah.
If there's no shows, if you're in
Yeah.
an organization that supports you, if you never have a bad day and you never show up to work really, really tired and then have really challenging cases.
Hmm.
Yeah. How does life work normally? You have bad days, you have snow weeks where you see potentially 0 clients.
Hmm.
And so I think for me, and maybe I would encourage others, is to plan with that margin and that space, because as you know, what is the opposite of 5? Now I have to Google something like that
Exactly. Yeah.
and I feel crazy.
Yeah. I think if anything, like, my parents always told me like a lot of being a parent is just trying to set expectations with your kids and with
Mm,
yourself. Or like, I'll take all 3 kids grocery shopping with me. And like, I think it's a fun experience. I know for some people that's very stressful and not very fun, but I'm like, I just tell them what's going to happen. Like and like, all right, just do the work to do, expectation setting. And honestly, that's what you just said is like, hey man, if you expect this to be done, if you expect to do your 3,000 hours cleanly and like in this time frame, you're going to be mad because that's not going to happen. And if you can, if you can just tell yourself like, hey, I'm about to go grocery shopping with 3 kids. 2 of them are going to run off to a different aisle. And then they're going to find stuffed animals and they're going to hold them for the entire time that we're here. Like, then I just know it's going to happen. But if I need to do an efficient grocery store trip, just like tell my wife like, hey, tonight I need to go grocery shopping at like 7 p.m. That way I'm not pissed at everyone.
Yes.
My wife will be like, yeah, I totally get it. Like, it's fine. Go do that. But setting your expectations correctly, I think is like, to me, that's like the most important thing to learn about life. It's just like, what am I expecting here? And is that realistic? And how do I get it?
I love that.
But if you go into bedtime, like with 2 kids that are less than 3 and you're like, this is going to be efficient and it's going to be clean. It's like, no, it's not. What are you doing here, man?
Yes. Well said. I found this helpful a long time ago. Disappointment is unmet expectation. And so I think it can get a bad rap, but lowering your expectations to maybe what reality is means I'm not going to be as sad or disappointed.
Correct.
You can still grieve it. You know?
Can. Yes. Yeah. No, because I'm chill or whatever. I just am constantly like assessing my expectations and like, if I have to lower my expectations, it's just a conversation of what energy can actually like be returned to me. So like, all right, cool. If I expect this to happen, is that realistic? Have I even told this person this is what I'm expecting of them? No. Okay, cool. So I'm fascinated by dissonance that exists in like everyday life. Yeah. Okay. You said that you work with like teenage boys mostly. How'd you end up helping out that demographic?
2 parts to that answer. Part 1 is my own story, of course. My parents were divorced when I was 10 years old. I saw porn for the first time at 11, and I didn't see a counselor myself until I was 25.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to bridge that gap. I think a lot of adult counseling, I see adults as well. What are we actually talking about as adults? We're talking about our experiences in childhood. And so the joy of working with children and teens is that we're working up through those things very close to when it happened, if not while it's happening. And so that's just super exciting for me. So that's kind of my story is I feel like I wish I would have been able to access therapy. And I know there's a variety of reasons why people can't, but being able to be a part of that. And then the second goes back to what we were talking about before, which is it's much easier in private practice and group kind of work to niche. And so I just have an advantage in the sense that I am a male who will see a 10-year-old boy. And there's not a whole lot of people in this area particularly who will do that.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I've talked to other people who are counselors and like, by the time you get to your mid-20s or 30s, like the malleability of you isn't what it once was. Whereas like right now, if you're like 10 and you experience porn, you experience like an abuse of some sort or a trauma, however you define it, then like if someone then helps your foundation get set so you know how to deal with it and understand what you just experienced, doing that at 12 versus 32 is a very drastically different amount of like, it's a lot less like to unlearn. At 38, most of my life, I feel like is unlearning what I learned at some point in time and then rebuilding it.
No, that's exactly it. I think the definition of trauma isn't what happened. It's the aloneness in what happened. And so if you're able to very quickly connect and offer presence versus 20 years go by and we're talking about that same thing.
Yeah. Also, since you were talking about like insurance and stuff, I do think I used to work at a dentist's office before I became a stay-at-home parent. And like the amount of time you spend just doing admin of trying to get paid for the job you did through a system, it does. I mean, we had 2 to 3 people. That was their entire job was to be like, all right, cool. Here's what we do. And if you're doing this by yourself, doing it solo, like some people will be like, oh, why don't you accept insurance? And it's like, it's actually a heck of a lot simpler. I tell you, this is the rate. Here's the cost. Maybe we can work out a payment plan, something like that. But like, I'm not
Yes.
sitting here hoping insurance pays what they told me they would pay, and I'm not spending hours on the phone fighting.
I'm not a pro here because I haven't used it, but
Yeah.
there does seem to be some options for people out there. I think Headway is what comes to mind, where people will, and not a paid promotion or anything. I know it exists, where people like kind of use their service and they can bill insurance through them, so they don't even have to worry about that. But the other end of the spectrum is, I know people who have paid like 3 or 4 times their rent in paying somebody to get billing from insurance. So yes, it is, you just get on average, I think, a little bit more attention from the counselor because they don't have to do all the extra legwork.
Yeah. And I think there's like, from what I know of like counselors, a lot of you are small business owners to some extent. And so like, selfishly, if I'm your patient, I want you to be able to focus on me. I'm not going to act like that's not true. And if you are mentally in the back of your head, you're like, Devin has UC. Oh crap, UHC doesn't really pay me that much. Okay, so I know after this, they're only really going to pay 50% of what they said they would.
Yeah.
And then I'm over there being like, and this is why I'm sad all day. And you're like, yeah. So then I'm not going to get paid for this. And like, it's just, when you're trying to balance the books in your head, I think it's a reality of running a small business of, you'll be in the middle of something and being like, wait, what else is there? And you're like, nope, I'm not here anymore. I got to be mentally present somehow.
Yes.
Do you think that like, is your hope to work with a school system and be a contract worker, or do you want to do like your own like private practice, or like as far as like small business ownership element to this, what's your mindset with that?
Yeah, I definitely have aspirations to do a lot of those things. I'll be able to own a private practice when I'm fully licensed in just 199 hours as of this recording.
Give or take.
And so, I hope to do some contract work in schools, hope to grow my speaking and training business, hopefully hire some people under me.
Yeah.
I think that's what I met very early on, is I can only see so many people. And that feels like a lot until you're actually in it. And there's other ways to kind of expand your impact. And so hoping to do that in the form of groups. I've run some groups in the past for, particularly like teens who need that extra person or that group of peers, really. Yeah. And so, we're talking about dads, and the thing that comes to mind is just the impact of dads over the long term. You can't touch that, right?
Yeah.
There is no other human potentially tied for second that impacts the child more than their father. And at the same time, in the particular seasons, we're impacted by our peers and teen boys particularly. And so, there's an encouragement to dads in that, hey, there's no one more important than you.
Yeah.
Over the long term and right now, but also they're going to listen to their teen peers as well.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's always like the thought of like, you're, you of course are a parent to your kid and everything, but like your kid's friends' parents also influence them as well. And just like being more aware of your community, because like, you can say whatever the hell you say as a parent, but like if they're over at their friend's house all day and their parent is saying something else, like it'll influence what they do. So you have to be aware of like, you have a sphere of influence, but like at some age they don't listen to you as much.
Yes. It goes up and down. And at the same time, when hopefully, your child's going to be the one or they call you during the hard things later in life.
Yeah. Yep. What do you feel like, since you do work with teen boys, like what are some common challenges, or what's their world like? What are they facing? Like if you can say, what's like a common discussion point you feel like you have with them?
The thing I probably hear the most, and obviously we're on a parent podcast here, so this feels very appropriate, is that they don't feel understood by their parent.
Okay.
And the language they'll use is they just don't understand.
Yeah.
There's a reality to parenting being very different, or at least the teen experience being very different in the last 30 years. At the same time, I think there's some truth to, as parents, particularly when we're trying to teach, or, we fall into the trap of telling, that lack of understanding can come through very quickly because we're just telling them the answer. Do you know what I mean?
I do. Yeah. No, it's, I think in general, if someone goes through an experience, even if I'm talking to people my own age, I'm going to lead with what my experience was and assuming that that makes them relate to me because I'm trying to relate to them. And
Yes.
they just want to explain their experience. And like,
Yes, exactly.
I'm not really a character in this conversation. My role is to just be like, it's to be a therapist. I'm like, hey, how do you feel about that? Whenever that happened, how did you
Hmm.
experience it? And it's
Hmm.
very easy to be like, well, whenever I was a teenager, this is what it was like for me. And they're like, I don't care.
Yeah. 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 I mean, we do that in our own therapy set. When I go to my
Yeah.
counselor, it's like he's probably got so much good stuff to say.
Mhm.
And still, I'm like, no, you just need to listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah, correct. Yep. And it makes me feel like I'm a teenager again, where I'm like, well, I don't know why this is happening. My parents are like, oh, there's actually a very logical, nope, okay, you don't want to hear it? Cool, good to know.
Yeah, I think that lack of understanding impacts
Mm-hmm.
so much in the father-child relationship. I think we fall into the trap of telling. I think we fall into the trap of, well, when I was,
Yep.
etc. Recently been passionate about falling into the trap of saying, of trying to inform them, you know,
Yeah.
it's very good to tell them what it's going to be like. But I think particularly fathers will say, hey, it's easy now when you're this old, then you're going to have real responsibility. They'll say like, when you're
Yeah.
in the real world, and I've been passionate about recently, what about their life experience right now isn't the real world? This is going to be what they're talking about in therapy in 15 years.
It
It
is.
is
Yep.
absolutely the real world.
Yeah.
And often it's the questions. And like you said, tell me what it's like to be you right now.
Yeah.
That's really going to make that impact.
Yep. Because I think it's understanding, like, I mean, I was in high school in like the early 2000s. Like, why would I expect things to stay the same 30 years
Mhm.
later? And which, like, no, they're going to have a completely different experience. Social media, we had MySpace. Like, it's not the same world. Like, I didn't have a cell phone until I was like a senior in high school. Like, the world they're living in is not the world I grew up in. So
Mhm.
why would I use the trauma, whatever the coping mechanisms I learned in high school? It's not going to be the same for them. It's going to be different.
Mhm.
So my hope is always just like, how do you figure out how to make your kid know that you're on their side, but also you're trying to protect them at the same time? I feel like it's the
Hmm.
balance you're constantly trying to figure out as a parent.
Yes, that's a really tough one.
It is. Well, because like, yeah, it's, I don't know, it's very easy to be very anxious about things, but also anxiety doesn't usually lead me to live a full life. It makes me close my hands more and contract more than be more
Mm.
open whenever I'm in an anxious mindset or state.
That made me think of one of the other thoughts I had on this understanding that
Yeah.
think what's surprising. Okay, so the child comes in, they don't feel understood. There's usually some sort of particular like life circumstance they're trying to
Mhm.
navigate.
Yeah.
School would be a great example. I'm getting C's and I really need to be getting A's. They have the capability to do that. And there's so much conflict between the parents around this grade.
Hmm.
The child can write down a list of the 10 steps to accomplish this goal
Hmm.
verbatim. I mean, they can tell you because parents tell them you
Yeah.
need to be studying after school. You need to get a quick stack. You need to take breaks. You need
Yeah.
to talk to your peers who know it better than you. Let's get you
Yeah.
hooked up with a tutor, right? I mean, they could list that out and they
Yeah.
do. And what's interesting to me is when I extend that understanding, man, that's so challenging
Hmm.
to want to get better grades, but not feel like you can. Extend that understanding. And no joke, guess what they end up doing? Exactly what their parents said all
Yeah.
along. Well, maybe I should just do this.
Uh-huh.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's like it's good advice, but they don't need more advice. They need more listening and more understanding, more space. And so you're talking about that dichotomy of how do I be present and protect.
Yeah.
And I would encourage people to lower that protection
Hmm.
because you are losing control. I mean, we don't want people to stay teens forever. That would be
No,
terrible. And so
it
lower
would
that
be.
protection, increase that presence. Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really
I
tough.
think it is. Well, I mean, like, I don't know. Whenever you see someone being like, oh man, I don't know how to get grades is an easy example. I don't know how to get good grades. I don't know how to do this. It's like, oh, do you need, like, I think you go into very logical mindset of like, oh, so do you need a tutor then? Like, what's your learning
Yes.
style? How do you learn best? Like, I can give you a whole list of problems, like solutions to potential problems. But like, I I hope I always have the mental space to validate first, to sit there and be like, hey, I know you want to be able to get better grades. Just so you know, you're still loved. Like, grades don't define you as a person. And I know you're smart enough to get there. They're just some roadblocks you keep hitting. So let's figure out how we overcome this. And then hope that my kid actually is willing to listen after me saying that. But like, that's the hope is, I do that with people my own age also, is like, hey, Jarrod, if I make your experience feel valid, that, like, how will that make you feel? How, once you're seen, how do you, once you know you're seen, how do you move forward? I feel like is usually drastically different, you know?
I'm gonna add one thing, and then I'm gonna give a quick tool.
You're the real therapist here, not me. So please.
No, see, that's the fun part. You've had all these conversations with people. I'm sure you've learned just so much over the course of the podcast.
Luckily, yes.
The pushback would be that kind of the counterintuitive part of therapy is that listening alone can elicit change.
Okay.
You said kind of listen first. I would say listen only.
Oh yeah.
And just see what happens.
Yeah.
If they already know it, they're not resisting the change because of a lack of knowledge. It's something else. And especially when you have like a verbal processor, they might actually just have to share what's going on to actually be able to make the move for change. And so slight pushback would be, don't just listen first so then I can give my advice. They already know the advice, especially if they've been listening to you, which they do.
Yeah.
Listen only and just see what happens. You know, in the example of the teen, the practical thing I'll give that I usually give parents if they're open to it is a style of language that is pretty foreign to us, because we kind of put it in like, okay, I listen and I ask a question. That's kind of how this goes.
Yeah.
And what can be brilliant is actually a reflection. So particularly for a teen who wants to make a change, but they are having trouble, they have competing interests and all that kind of stuff, simply reflecting what you hear back to them is a way to understand.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah.
So the example would be, I really don't want to study for that test tonight because I have my friend's thing and I really want to go. And I know you said that I need to study, but that's what I want to do. So often it can be listening. That's great. Oh, yeah. Okay. Asking a question. Do you really think it's wise to go to that thing when you really need to study? You've said it's really important to you. Reflection would be simply stating back what you hear. You can do it word for word, or you can do the idea. Super practical. I feel like I live in reflection. If you think about a mirror, this is what you're doing.
Yep.
You're really having a hard time deciding, should you study like you know you should, or should you go to that friend's party? And then silence. And it's amazing the work that can happen right after that. Yeah.
How do you do that without a condescending tone? Because I feel like I would say that with a condescending tone. You know, I'd be like to keep I'm very big on tone and word selection. I think I agree. I think that's a phenomenal tool. I just know in the moment, I think removing myself from wanting him to get to the answer that I want is the problem, right? So to not be like, so do you think that it'll be good if you go to da-da-da-da? How do you as a therapist keep your tone inquisitive and you're not already nudging towards the answer that you want? You know?
You're wondering how to make this a point of connection and not condescension.
Basically. Because I get that, being like, oh, this is what you like. I love doing reflection also, where you reflect back what they just said to you. But I know if I still want them to go study instead, I'm going to do the reflection in which I'm already saying what I think the answer is in my tone of voice. You know what I mean?
So first thing I'll point out, I did reflect right there, and you just filled in the other stuff.
Yes.
That's what will most likely happen.
Okay.
They'll fill in some more stuff. I think part of that reflection is letting go of what happens. I mean, the reality is the child's going to have learning, changing behavior is more likely to happen if they suffer and fail. Yeah. I mean, what better experience, even though it wouldn't be fun to watch, for them to go to the party and go, you know what, I probably should study for that test. So how do you do that without leading to them to the answer? I mean, it depends on the age of the child we're talking about with the party. But if they're 16, maybe letting go of which one they choose.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Maybe there is a way to study and go to the party.
Yeah.
Right? So I would reflect back, and as you do that and as you hold up that mirror, just know that your other hand is letting go.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
It's really easy to let go of that when your goal in that moment isn't to get them somewhere. It's to find out if you really understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
It's that empathy. It's hard to be condescending if I'm really trying to understand. And I think that's where parents can, like you talked about, being a teen in the thousands rather than now. Mm-hmm. We forget. It's like that we forget what it was like when they were 3 months old.
Mm-hmm.
We forget what it was like to be a teen, and to really struggle that my peer, I could like lose out on social status by not going to this party. And of course that would be a hard trade. A 70 versus an 80 on a math test, or like all of my peers are going to think I'm a loser.
Yeah.
And so trying to reflect back and imagine what it's like in your shoes to have to wrestle with studying or this party. I would challenge any parent. It's going to be hard to condescend in that moment if you're really trying to understand it.
Yeah. That makes sense. No, and I think that's true. That's whenever, I think, kind of where we're heading at is like, the hope is always to have the mental presence for that empathy. Because like if I'm multitasking, I'm cooking dinner, and they're like, "Hey, I want to do this." I'm like, then I'm not going to respond with the most empathetic tone of voice. I'm going to respond with like, "What do you think? It's better to study or go to the party? Which one do you think it is?" And they're going to be like, "Wow, I know what you want, man."
Yes.
I think what's interesting about having kids is how much you have to update your understanding of where they are in life. Because like if you have a 2-year-old, I'm worried about the social aspect, but they're keeping their schedule, keeping on like a rhythm and stuff like that matters more to me than like, did we go to library time so he could see his best friend? Whereas like for my 10-year-old, her social world is much more important than I'm updating my knowledge of like, all right, we need friend time. You want friend time. Let's go make it happen. So it's a constant definition changing of like, what do I think this kid needs and how do I understand what this kid needs?
That goes back to what you talked about with the expectations. Are my expectations for my teen that they exclusively prioritize academics?
Yep.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe not. Yep. And it's also hard because like, I think parenting is also always fascinating because then you do your own self-reflection. I was a social kid, but had above average grades. So I'm like, I don't want to put myself so much in my kid's shoes. And I'm like, oh yeah, just go be social, go to all the parties, go to all the stuff. You'll be fine. Because I was fine. So it must be a good example of it. How I end every episode is I ask every guest a series of 5 questions.
Excellent.
So the first question is, did you have any backup names for your kids? Like, did you have any names that you almost named them?
Yes, actually, we waited to find out if it was a boy or a girl until they were born.
Mm-hmm.
So we still have our backup boy name because we had 2 girls.
Yeah.
The problem we run into is they're all family names, and we've run out of our good female family names. So we're going to have to do some creative stuff for the next one, potentially.
Potentially. In 3 years, whenever you get pregnant, I'll be like, hey man, I understand. I relate to that.
Yes.
Yeah. No, you got to have like I will say we have 2 girls and then a boy. And like girl names, I feel like are like whimsical and fun to decide. A boy name is like either straightforward or just a little quirky. Like it's not like, I don't feel like you get as much whimsy with a boy name. Next question. Do you have a favorite TV or movie dad?
Wow. That's an excellent question.
You can do book character also, if that helps, if that helps your brain think of one.
The movie one that comes to mind is a movie that's a little older now called 8th Grade.
Yeah, with like Ellie Fisher and Bo.
Yes.
Bo Burnham was made it. Yes.
Yeah. And I think of the scene in that with the dad who is definitely doing the best he can. And they're around the fire. And I think they've kind of come through some of their conflict and roadblocks. And just that scene of like him holding his daughter is so special. And so as far as a scene, that's the one that comes to mind. I mean, who doesn't love Finding Nemo? A dad, who may have been distracted up until that point, but he certainly proves himself at the end.
He does. Now that's such a sweet moment in 8th grade because yeah, she's like struggling and trying to figure out who the heck she is the entire time, and like her dad being a source of comfort. Like,
Mm.
yeah, as a dad, how does that not like? And I think I can't remember if it's Bill Paxton who is the actor. He does such a good job of just like he has such a sense of like he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, but he knows he loves his daughter. And that
Mhm.
I feel like that sentiment of just like I don't know what you're going through, but I know I can hold you. It's just like such a
Wow.
sweet
Yes.
moment of like, yeah, he doesn't have the words for expressing any of this and doesn't know what to do at all. And it's just very, very sweet.
It's amazing to tie into what we talked about the reflection.
Hmm.
An adequate and probably incredible sometimes reflection is, I don't know what it would be like
Yeah.
for you right now to choose a party over, right? I don't
Hmm.
actually know that experience, because the problem is that we assume we know.
Hmm. Yeah. And then next question. You might not have one yet because your kids aren't really like saying words back as much. Have you figured out a go-to replacement curse word yet? Like someone cuts you off in traffic. Do you have a word you say instead of the curse word, or are you still just cursing?
Wow, that's an excellent one as well. I guess I still fall into saying bad words
It's
with
the
my
most common
child in the
answer.
car.
It's the most common answer.
Is
So
it
don't worry. Yeah,
good?
yeah, yeah. It is.
The story the other day was that, oh man, the specific story I'll share to answer this is that we
Yes.
put some donuts outside of the fire department. We had a whole thing
Sure.
to, thank from them for their service.
Hmm.
And there was a dog who came up. Stray dogs in our neighborhood all the time piss me off. And so, praise God, my 2-year-old repeats "dumb dog" and not what I said before. And I think I was just angry at Memphis in general for having all these stray dogs. And so that was an eye opener of like, man, I think we're officially at the point where I need to have a replacement word. So I'm open to suggestions.
I think my go-to is sound effects. I think I'm more inclined to go like
Mm.
"Mm," or something like that,
Hmm.
as opposed to try because like at that point in time, if I'm already kind of like, oh, I'm going to say a different word, I'm like, no, I'm just going to say the word because some part of it's going to be like, it's just language. Like I'm going to
Hmm.
like do that. What is one of my favorites? Dadgummit is a
Mm.
common one, but then it ages you 30 to 40 years.
Yes, yes. She's already been repeating gosh. So I think
Gosh.
I have some fallbacks that I've been using, and that's
Yeah.
kind of showing it.
I think my goal with a replacement curse word, if I have to say one, is one that changes the energy. So, like, if I say fiddlesticks or something dumb
Oh,
like
nice.
that, then it makes me be like, why did I just say the word fiddlesticks? And then my kids are more inclined to be like, why did you say you never say the word
Yes.
fiddlestick? Like, I think that can also change the energy. Sometimes you also just want to be mad and express that you're mad. But if it's
Mhm.
something dumb like, well, that fiddlesticks driver was real slurping stupid, it's like, then your kids are like, what did you just say? And you're like, I'm expressing anger because I can't control anything. How are you guys today? Next question. I know your kids are little, but like, what's like one of your favorite activities to do with them? Have you figured out like a toy you like to play with them?
Easy. This one's easy for the older one.
Yeah.
Definitely fell trapped to the e-bike purchase.
Yeah.
We live just barely a mile from this paved path in Memphis.
Yeah.
Surprising gem of Memphis is the paved paths for
Okay.
bikes. So much of it. So I think we can get to 6 coffee shops
Mm-hmm.
from that paved path all over
That's
the
cool.
city.
Yeah.
And so I got like a front bike seat that she
Mm-hmm.
fits in, and we just go all over town.
That's so cool.
Super fun.
There's biking is really big out in Colorado. Like I
Yeah.
think there's a 71-mile trail that goes from like downtown Denver to Colorado. Like it's real big out here. And
Hmm.
like don't really bike, but I feel like I should because I see dads doing like that, and I'm like, that's fun. That looks cute. And then
Yes.
then a month goes by, and I'm like, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it's definitely changed, because you can go 75 miles on
Yeah,
a charge.
yeah, that's
Definitely
crazy.
changed what I can access
Yeah,
doing the e-bike version. But
yeah,
it's outside, it's exercise for me. It's
hmm,
enjoyable to see them see nature.
yeah.
Memphis has buffalo, and so the
What?
fact that my 2-year-old says buffalo and
That's
points
cute.
at them, just
That's
so
cute.
good.
That's awesome. That's cool. I always feel like I've done the right thing if I can get my kids to be outside and get lost in nature. Then I'm like, all right, I think I'm doing parenting correctly this hour.
Mm-hmm.
And then last question would be, is there like any moment of your kid's life that you're most excited to like see them accomplish or like see them be a part of, like any phase of life? You're like, oh man, I can't wait for this for you.
I feel like that's a double-edged sword, what we're talking about. Anticipating what I expect from them, and I don't know.
Yep.
I've been trying to be present to what is good now.
Yeah.
I have close people to me who have lost children.
Yeah.
And this might be morbid, but
Yep.
we're not guaranteed that our child lives until then. And so trying to hold that loosely and just be excited for, hey, I had expected it would be fun to see my teenage child like read books. But it's fun to see them hold books and want them read to, read for them. If I was to answer an exciting thing, man, I think I would say find kind of what brings them joy. Right now, it really is a little bit of like we go biking because I like biking.
Yeah.
And so excited for the things that I didn't expect them to be interested in, maybe. I don't expect to have them be in ballet, but what if they did? Who knows? Maybe I'm going to find out a lot more about something that I didn't know or enjoy previously.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. And like, I mean, honestly, like part of that question is just the reality of like, how do you hold expectations and the acknowledgement of like, what are my expectations tipping the scale in one way? And just, I think most of getting older is learning how to let go of your expectations and actually, why am I not present to the moment? It's because I expected this to be different. So now I'm ignoring what's in front of me because I want something to be tweaked just a little bit.
Are you working on your temporary license?
I'm not yet. I should probably, that's a whole other discussion of if I should go back to school for counseling and stuff. I probably should. And I'll let you know when I enroll. You're like the third or fourth therapist who's been like, so when are you going to enroll? And I'm like, maybe whenever my youngest is in kindergarten. It's a lot of work, guys. You also told me how much work it is at the same time. So no, I think what you do with dissonance, what you do with life is you need people to talk to, you need community. That's kind of the reality of this podcast also, all at the same time. And last thing for you is just like, moment for self-promotion. I mean, do you do like Instagram, anything like that? If we want to follow your journey, your LinkedIn, anything like that? Yeah.
As far as places you can find me, LinkedIn is the main one that I'm on. I have a website. It's my name, jarrodhoffman.com. And in terms of what I can do to help, I do offer speaking and training. I can do that virtually as well. I see clients in person or virtually in the state of Tennessee. And so I'm limited there, but if, some of your listeners live there and would benefit from some of my work, they can check me out. And then I also am looking to get groups going for teen boys. And so, what I would say is my email is accessible. If there's any way I can help you with therapy or coaching of some sort, if you're out of the state or whatever that looks like, I just want to be a part of the experience. If you have homework from this episode, it would be to try out the reflection. Not you. You can try it if you want.
Me.
Your listeners. Yes, exactly. Tevin, come on. Get an A+. Try out the reflection, see how it goes, and shoot me an email and let me know if it was helpful or not. I've had people respond where they think that they're making fun of them or something. But still feeling connection in that time, because I think it comes back to you. It's like, oh man, there's a lot of healing where coming from me understanding somebody as well. So that's your homework. If you email me back, I would love to hear from all of you.
Perfect. Awesome. For the most part, stay warm. Hopefully Memphis doesn't get hit with any ice. Yeah, just enjoy the rest of your week and I'll talk to you next time.
Yeah, sounds good, Devin.
Sweet. Have a good day, Jarrod. I'll see you next time.
See ya.
All right. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the episode. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at the Imperfect Dads Podcast. And make sure to give us 5 stars wherever you listen to us. Music, editing, and production is all done by me. Make sure to tune in on Mondays and most Thursdays for new episodes. This podcast is part of the Never a Phase Network. Make sure to go to neveraphasenetwork.com to learn more about them.